Hey there, party people. So you finally hit your 120 spark, or you got really lucky, unlike me, and managed to pull Laevatain. Now you want to know what makes her hands down the best DPS unit in the game, and how to put a team together to make her really shine. Well, fret not friends, I've got you covered. Let's get into it. Laevatain is a sword-wielding heat striker that plays as a hypercarry operator who excels in AoE and crowd control. Her playstyle revolves around dealing massive ultimate damage and building up her melting flame stacks to restore her ultimate faster. She has the ability to absorb heat inflictions from enemies she's facing in battle to speed up her ultimate charge. And with a single piece of ultimate gain efficiency armor, she's poised to get her ultimate back super fast. Her ideal teams will have members that can amplify and improve her outgoing damage, as well as those who can apply heat infliction or corrosion reliably. I'm sure you can see where I'm going with all of this, but before we get too deep in the weeds with builds and team comps, let's dive into her kit and how to play it first. A majority of her damage is contained in her ultimate, Twilight. This is the first skill you want to prioritize leveling up. In it, Laevatain summons Figure Lavi and enhances her basic attack. On basic attack 3, she also applies heat infliction herself. That being said, finisher attacks are off the menu for the duration of the ultimate, but they aren't really needed to get the sheer amount of DPS you can actually output. Her battle skill, Smoldering Fire, summons a magma fragment that deals damage over time to enemies near it and generates 1 stack of melting flames for each enemy that it actually hits. If Laevatain already has 4 stacks, triggering her battle skill will consume all the stacks and perform an additional attack that forcibly triggers combustion. Its effects are also enhanced when Twilight is active. Her basic attack, Flaming Cinders, is a 5-sequence heat damage attack that deals 18 stagger on the final strike, which is in line with other sword characters. And lastly, her combo skill, which triggers when an enemy suffers combustion or corrosion, builds up stacks of melting flames and regenerates ultimate energy when hitting opponents. You may have noticed that I talked about those abilities a bit out of the normal order, but that's actually intentional. In terms of build priority, you're going to want to focus on her ultimate, then her battle skill, basic attack, and lastly will be your combo skill. Switching over here to the Icy-Veins website, I can kind of show you a little bit better what I'm talking about and why I'm saying that that's the skill priority we need to focus on. If you look down here at any of the skills, you can see the bonuses that apply as you level these skills up. Each of these skills has been pre-tuned to 9, that way I can showcase what you're basically looking at when you look at this right here. These are all rank 9, well except for obviously this one, my combo trigger, which I'm kind of slacking on so I don't burn all my resources. But if you look, the reason I say that the ultimate skill should be first is because the ultimate skill is a enhanced basic attack sequence and a majority of her damage actually stems from the ultimate skill. So, when you look at the multipliers, your enhanced basic attack sequence multipliers are actually being jumped the highest by the Twilight skill. Once you're out of the basic attack sequence, the next one up would be Smoldering Flame, because during ultimate additional attack multiplier, during ultimate basic attack sequence 2 and 1 multipliers, you've also got additional attack damage multipliers, damage over time multipliers, and base explosion damage multipliers. There's more variety and value in leveling your battle skill second. Now in third, we've got the basic attack, because in the end this is an enhanced basic attack, which means basic attack sequence multipliers should still apply right on top. And lastly, we've got the combo trigger, which is a little bit of restoration in terms of how much super you can get back, but it's also just like a small damage multiplier overall, which is still nice. It's still nice to get that damage multiplier, but less important than the other 3. So in terms of skill priority, you want to start with the ultimate, then do your battle skill, then your basic attack, and then your combo skill will be where you end things off. Lastly, let's talk about her talents, Scorched Heart and Reignition. Scorched Heart enables Laevatain to absorb heat infliction from nearby enemies when the controlled operator's final strike or finisher hits the enemy, converting them at a rate of 1-to-1 into melting flame stacks. It also lets her bypass enemies' heat resistance by a set percentage while at 4 stacks. Her other talent, Reignition, grants her 90% protection and restores 5% of her HP per second for a period of time depending on its level. This basically makes it act as an emergency heal every 120 seconds. In terms of weapons, obviously her signature weapon is her best fit, but if for some reason you aren't pulling for her signature weapon, the Battle Pass weapon, Umbral Torch, is another viable option for her. Umbral Torch offers an intellect and heat damage bonus as well as a flat attack percentage boost, and it has an effect that boosts nature or heat damage of the wielder when an enemy is afflicted with corrosion or combustion. If you want to run her alternative though, I recommend trying to get up to P5 because honestly, that's how wide the gap between Umbral Torch and Forgeborn Scathe is. Her signature weapon grants an intellect and attack percentage boost as well as a passive heat damage bonus, and it has an effect that grants a sizable basic attack damage boost when the wielder casts an ultimate. This ties perfectly into her kit, so much so that it makes it really hard for even her second best option to compete. I highly recommend considering pulling for a weapon if you want to build her as strong as possible. For her gear sets, it's clearly the hot work set and nothing else even comes close. That having been said, it does branch based on which direction you want to take her build. My personal preference is to utilize the hot work gauntlets and 2 hot work pyrometers paired with a Tidefall light armor chest piece for the granted ultimate gain efficiency. Though some people in my inner circles have said that they enjoy swapping out one of the kit pieces instead to maximize damage output. Alright, we covered her skills, we covered her equipment. Let's talk teams. Like I mentioned at the top, Laevatain is built as a hypercarry DPS operator with a specialization in AoE attacks and ultimate damage output, and her team should reflect that. Ideally, team comps based around Laevatain should include things that boost her kit, so that includes SP batteries, heat infliction applicators, heat amplifiers, and Ardelia. Ardelia in specific is a really strong pairing option for Laevatain due to her forced corrosion with her HP treatment just being an added survivability bonus. The team that I've personally been using is Laevatain as the DPS, Wolfguard as a heat infliction stacker and combustion trigger through his ultimate, Antle as a heat damage amp through his ultimate and heat susceptibility applier through his battle skill, and Ardelia for her corrosion and HP treatment. There is some flexibility here though. For example, you could substitute Akikuri in for Wolfguard. There she is, cute little SP battery there. You'll lose some combustion, but she can act as an SP battery and still add heat infliction through her battle skills. There's also great synergy with another character that I've actually been using since I pulled her yesterday, Gilberta, wherein she can gather, apply art susceptibility, and slow enemies with her CC abilities, and then Laevatain can just hammer them out with her ultimate as another option for a substitute. As you've likely seen from the gameplay behind me and the guide I wrote on Icy-Veins, if you're into that sort of thing, Laevatain is fantastic at her job. As a DPS, she's crazy good, and with the right equipment, she'll clear the game's content with ease. That doesn't mean she's without flaws though. For starters, Laevatain is super ultimate reliant. A large portion of her damage, which you can translate to mean basically 3/4 of it, or more, stems from her ultimate. The rest of the time, Laevatain doesn't particularly hit incredibly hard. Her skill ceiling isn't very high either, as she's got built-in survivability on her kit in the form of her second talent. But if you come to rely on it too much, mistakes can be made during the cooldown period, and you can end up with your hypercarry DPS unit dead while you struggle bus your way through a fight. Maximizing your potential with Laevatain also relies heavily on timing and strategy. Utilizing Wolfguard's battle skill as well as Antle's combo and Wolfguard's combo are paramount to helping Laevatain meet her full potential. There are 2 things you want to try to maintain: maximum stacks of melting flames and ultimate energy uptime. There's a lot of interplay between her kit and her teammates too, as she not only benefits from corrosion application Ardelia applies, but also benefits from the defense shred effect it generates, upping Laevatain's outgoing damage. Antle, quickly being identified as one of the best supports in the game despite being a 4-star, has the ability to apply heat susceptibility and heat amp, so the interplay there is obvious. Akikuri 2, acting as an SP battery, helps with the team's skill uptime, which can directly translate into more skills cast, but this too shines the light on the issues with her teams. Hypercarries don't generally play too well with sub-DPS or dual DPS team comps, and make no mistake, Laevatain is entirely intended as a hypercarry DPS unit. There's not another DPS or sub-DPS you can really put on her team. You could possibly consider Wolfguard somewhat of a sub-DPS, but as a caster, his role is more suited to Art's inflictions, which is how he's utilized in this team comp. But there really aren't any guard or strikers that sub well in the team comp without massively sacrificing her damage output. Her team is decently locked and revolves around her as the queen of the party. She's able to make up for this though through the sheer utility she offers as an AoE and CC character, but Still, it is a limitation to consider that doesn't exist with a lot of the other DPS units in the game. So what's the verdict? Is Laevatain a must-pull? 100% yes. She is an amazing character. If you can get your hands on her, you definitely should. She's really, really good, really, really strong, super powerful. Those of you who've been on my channel for a while likely remember and know who Ryan is. Well, Ryan works with me over at Icy-Veins on doing a lot of these guide writing things, and he actually had the opportunity to stand up and do his tier list. And as you can see, there's only one DPS unit that he decided deserved the crown of S rank, and that would be Laevatain. And that's not to say that any of these other units are bad, of course, but Laevatain is just far and above that good at outputting DPS that she sits above pretty much every other unit right now in the current meta. Although I will disagree with him strongly about Yvonne being in B. But that's beside the point. This is his tier list, not mine. Laevatain has been my go-to gal ever since I pulled her with her banner, so I highly recommend her. She does massive amounts of damage, she's really good, and I'm not necessarily opposed to hypercarry type teams. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you won't be opposed to hypercarry type teams. There are a lot of people who don't like putting all their hopes and dreams on a single character because, like I mentioned earlier, if that character dies, your squad is up a creek without a paddle. But if you can overcome that fear, she will deal a lot of damage to a lot of enemies, and she will carry you through content because she is just that strong. Even more so when you pair her with her right supports and actually do everything you need to do to ensure that she's successful. So I definitely recommend pulling her, and I definitely recommend building her out if you manage to pull her. But what do you all think? Comment down in the comment section and let me know. Do you think that Laevatain's worth all the hype, or do you think she's overblown? Let's have a conversation. In the meantime, I've been Automaton. Thank you all again for coming by, and I will catch you in the next video. See ya!